What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It is me, your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you by the MWA Podcast Network, baby, the number one wrestling podcast channel in the world that brings you the best content from around the world of professional wrestling. And tonight, it's Tuesday night. You know what it means. It's time for you to sit back, pour yourself a cold one, crack yourself a stiff one, or vice versa. I don't know. It's been a long day. And maybe even crack yourself a cold ice cream. We have Mr. Scoops himself, Jay Sorbet, in the house. But tonight, before we get into the show, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause to thank some of our amazing sponsors. Now, first up is the Wrestling Universe. Now, let me tell you something about the Wrestling Universe. It is your one-stop shop for all your wrestling merchandise. They have all kinds of WWE, TNA, UFC, WCW, ECW, action figures, past and present. They carry t-shirts, wrestling cards, autographed 8x10s, masks, belts, and much more. They also do in-store signings. They have 3 stores. So if you're in the New York area, we have a lot of international New York viewers that are tuning in. Make sure you go and check out. You can see such guys like Darby Allin, Katie Forbes, Sting, Kurt Angle, just to name a few of some of the signings that they've got coming up. So if you're in New York, go and check it out. But guys, also, if you want to buy something online at the Wrestling Universe store, good news, they ship internationally. So, guys, you don't have to worry about it. They'll ship to you anywhere in the world, baby. But, guys, I can't forget about our good friends over at Sleefs.com. Now, there we go, Sleefs.com. Now, if you're an athlete or someone you know is an athlete, you need to go to Sleefs.com. They offer great quality products from arm sleeves, knee sleeves, headbands, tights, compression pants, joggers, socks, even dirty boxers. I'm even wearing a pair of their dirty boxers right now, and they are the most comfortable boxers I own. So, guys, head over to sleeves.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get 10% off your final purchase. Now, guys, our next sponsor, if you're like me, I'm an ex-smoker. I'm now smoking, like using this vape gimmick thing. You can't see me. I don't know why I'm holding up to the camera, but I'm using this vape gimmick thing, and I want to quit that. My wife is busting my balls to quit the vape. This is my way of getting off the vape. Healthvape.com. Now, let me tell you a little something about healthvape.com. These guys sell healthy vaping alternatives. All products are no nicotine, no harmful or addictive chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. So make sure you pick yourself up some of their vape and pod products today, using promo code MWAPOD for a 10% discount at final purchase. Like I said, guys, I'm going to start using these. It's going to get me off the vape. I'm going to get off those, and then I'm going to be like nothing, no vape, no cigarettes, no nothing, and I can't wait. And this is the way it's going to get me to it. But guys, I just want to take another quick second. If you are a member of Amazon Prime, you have a subscription with them, head over to our channel on Twitch and you get a free subscription. If you subscribe to us, it helps us out, helps us build the channel out, and helps us bring you more and more quality content. So do us a favor, slide in, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and join us live. But guys, I've gone on for a little bit. You've sat down patiently. You've waited for my guest tonight. Now it's time to bring him out. And that, my friend, is the Sorbet, Jay Sorbet. What's up?
How are you, Piers? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. Good to see you as well, man. How you coping with this lockdown shit, bro? It's been pretty chaotic, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of, a bit of unknown. You never really know what's going to happen, if we're going to go into another week of lockdown, if the restrictions are going to be lifted. So, yeah, just like all of us, I'm just, hoping for the best and waiting to see what happens, and hoping that I can get back in the ring soon when it's all healthy and all good.
Because the last show you were at, I was actually on the show myself as your ring announcer, and man, you and Otis had
great job, by the way.
Oh man, like you guys did all the work. I just tried to live up to the expectation to help you guys, man. But like you and Otis, man, really put on, in my eyes, the match of the night. It was definitely up there with that and the main event for the title. But you guys really, man, came on early and just put on one hell of a match.
Yeah, I love wrestling in front of that Menai crowd. It's very close to home. I get a lot of my friends and family there as well, and being in there with Otis, having him in there, it's a guy I've wrestled many times, and I like to think I have very good chemistry with him. And yeah, we went in there and just put on the best we could, and you liked it, and the crowd seemed to like it, and that's all that matters to me. As long as people are out there enjoying themselves, having a good time, and being entertained by what I do, then that's all that matters, man.
That's it, man. But how did a young, good Shire boy like yourself end up in this crazy, chaotic world of professional wrestling, bro?
Well, I started watching it at a very young age. My cousins were actually real into it. One of my cousins used to wrestle for IWA and a bunch of other places, and he kind of got me into all of it. So I think like when I think I might have been 4 years old, 3 or 4. He gave me my first like Kevin Nash and Goldberg WCW figures, and I think it sort of started from there. Then I got my Rock and Shawn Michaels VCRs back when they were a thing, and yeah, just started watching it from a young age. Fell in love with it. Fell in love with like the characters and all the high risk moves, and yeah, man, it sort of started just from there, and then I started watching it in I think 2001 was when I first started watching Raw properly. It was right in the middle of the Invasion era.
Oh,
So a lot of people aren't a big fan of the Invasion. They think it could have been done better, which is true. But
I enjoyed it.
Era, yeah, that era holds us, I guess a soft spot in my heart just because it's what I grew up with and it's what I was first introduced to. Like Rob Van Dam and The Rock and Biker Taker and the Dudley Boys putting people through tables. So yeah, that's the stuff I grew up on, man, and that's how I became a fan.
You mentioned your cousin wrestled, bro. Like, what was your cousin's wrestling name?
So he wrestled as Brett Brady. He wrestled in the IWA back in the day.
Yeah, I heard of Brett. Yeah. I heard him. No shit, he's your cousin. So like,
yeah, he wrestled with Mercedes, and Picasso was around back then. I used to go to the shows and go watch him. Tyson Gibbs and Matrix, now Robbie Zuko. Which is really cool, actually, getting to wrestle on shows with these guys now who I, was going to the local RSLs and getting to see them wrestle when I was a young kid. I'm sure that probably makes them feel a bit old, but.
Oh, bro, Picasso's been around for years, dude.
Yeah.
And he doesn't age either, bro. He looks the same as he did like 20 years ago.
He looks the same and he wrestles the same and he does the same stuff, and it's still the people still go as bonkers for it as they did back then.
Bro, that's the thing. That's the thing, man. As long as it's over and you get a reaction, fuck, it doesn't like nothing else really matters, right?
That's it. I mean, wrestling is like this crazy world of just everything. Like, you can be an ice cream man, you can be a fireman, a policeman, or you can be like a straight up technician or high flyer or whatever. There's something for everyone, and I think that's what's great about pro wrestling.
I said the same thing, dude. Like, wrestling is probably one of those things in the world that it really is. If you're prepared to put in the work, it's for you. It's as simple as that. If you're prepared to put in the effort in it, it'll be prepared to put in the. And it's really like shows no discrimination. Okay, you're 7 foot tall. Come on in. You're a midget. Come on, or little person, whatever the political term is. Come on in. You know what I mean? Like, but as I said, as long as you're prepared to put in the work, it's for anyone and everyone.
That's it. And I think, you will find that the hardest workers are the ones who are going to make it. And, there are some exceptions, obviously if some guys are really big and they have some sort of look that, like whatever company it may be is looking for, then, it might be a little bit easier, I guess, per se. But, the hard work at the end of the day is all the same. No one got anywhere by doing absolutely nothing. You've got to 100%. Either put yourself in the right place at the right time, or you got to work your ass off.
100%, dude. 100%. But where did you get your start, dude? Like, where did you start training?
So I started training at Club Vulcan in Menai because that was my like local wrestling school. So I was there learning from John Saru, Vulcan, the former gladiator. Learning from him for a little bit. And then I got my start on shows think my first show, I just looked at it recently, just sort of for this podcast, just for reference. It was actually in November in 2015. I had my first match, which was for AWE in Club Menai, funnily enough.
Oh yeah, and who did you face in the match? Do you remember?
His name was Richie Vegas. I think he now wrestles as AK-47. I think he's one of the Vulcan boys. I'm not sure if he still works there or not. I think he does.
And how was the match?
I mean, we felt fine with it at the time. You know, like we went through a lot of it in the week leading up to, because you know, obviously super nervous, not really knowing, you know, what to do. I didn't have the character I have now. I was very much just a generic high flyer in purple tights. Like, there wasn't really much else to it. I was just like, you know, I grew up with a trampoline in my backyard. I can do a couple of little, you know, neat flips. So I may as well use that until I get more experience and sort of get the psychology and everything down. So yeah, I felt good at that at the time, but I'm sure if I watched it back now, I'd think it was, you know, not very good at all.
I mean, but no one turns around and goes their first match and will go, "Oh, it was the great dude." It was like race and flair, bro. Like that, you know what I mean? Like it was up there, bro. Like seriously, they should have signed me a contract. But you know, how long did it really take you to sort of establish, you know, your character, Jay Sorbet, and establishing that gimmick?
So this gimmick really got started when I headed down to Rock and Roll Wrestling and started training under Hunter Hayes. He was, you know, he's got like these ideas of gimmicks, and you know, he'll suggest things to his guys. And he came up to me one session and he was like, "I've been trying to give all my guys this ice cream man gimmick, and none of them want to take it. None of them think it's going to be, you know, interesting or get over or any fun." And I was like, at this point, like I said, purple tights, high flyer, had nothing going for me except for a few flashy moves. I was like, I'll give it a go, you know. And then he just said, "All right, come back with something, you know, come back with a name and whatever you want to do, and let me know." So, you know, I came up with the name Jay because it's not too far off my, you know, my real name. And then, you know, I was thinking things like Gene Ice Cream, and because I just wanted to make it rhyme. I just thought it'd be kind of catchy. Gene Ice Cream, Joe Lato. But then I just settled on Jay Sorbet because I just thought it sounded, you know,
it sounds like it could be your shoot name, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like it sounds like Jay Sorbet. Like it sort of flows, man. You know, and it works well. But you know, at that point when he presented you the ice cream man gimmick, was like you know, you said you sort of like you went with it and stuff like that. But like when he was pitching it to you, were you just like, yeah, this is where I wanted to be in wrestling? Or you're like, oh fuck, I want to be like the badass, or I wanted to be like this? Like, did you have a vision of what you wanted to be in the business?
I think when I started out, I wanted to be like that, you know, high flyer, like the guys I've seen on TV, like your Guerreros and AJ Styles and, you know, all the guys like that. And then I think as I started to realize that characters are kind of what connects to an audience more than just going out there and doing a bunch of moves, because there's so many guys who can do so many great moves. It's like to stand out, I think you really need a good character, which takes time to develop. But it basically got started when, you know, he said to me, you know, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go out for a few shows. You're not going to wrestle. You're just going to sell ice cream to the audience. And we'll see what happens. So I'm out there selling like drumsticks and, you know, whatever ice creams I can get my hand on. And I'm going out there like, oh my gosh, what if no one wants to buy these ice creams? And then I'm just like a massive flop. There's some guy trying to sell ice creams like,
flopped at the concessions.
But no, it seemed to go over really well. And I think by the third or fourth show of me doing it, Lucas Parker, who's one of the guys down at Rock and Roll, was in the ring cutting a promo, and he's, you know, doing this story with Captain Keto, who's my tag partner down there now, where they were in a feud, and he'd like just injured him, and he was bragging about it, and I'm out there being all like loud and obnoxious, like ice creams, like talking over his promo, and then
Was that supposed to do that, or were you just like oblivious?
No. Well, I mean, Jay Sorbet was very oblivious to the fact that there was a guy in the ring, trying to talk about something. He just wants to make his money and sell his ice creams and fund his way through the Rock and Roll Wrestling Academy so he can make a career. And then, mean old Parker calls me out and challenges me to a match, and Jay Sorbet gets the win, and then immediately gets beaten down straight after.
But what a way to come in though, like, with that character though. But how long did it take you to sort of like start to really feel confident with it and really sort of like start owning it?
Oh, well, I mean, I had a few things down from the start. I was like, ice cream scoops. I'm going to do some scoop slams because that's what I feel like my character would do.
Yeah.
So I had those kind of things, but I think the thing that took me the longest, and I think I'm still working on it, to be honest, is engaging with the audience while I'm in there and really making that connection. I find it especially hard when you have really quiet audiences or audiences with very few people in there, because like you have to really try and draw it out sometimes. Whereas if you've got like a loud, crowd like Menai, it's much easier.
Oh, 100%, dude. Like when you did that's the sorbet, they did it with you, man. Like you can see the, like I said, with the energy with it. But I think that your character has that as well, bro. Like when you're doing like a live show, obviously doing a live show, but when you're in the ring and you do that, you can get that reaction from them,
Yeah, and I think having a catchphrase like that, that just comes from me watching a lot of wrestling growing up, like knowing that, if you have a catchphrase, if you have a specific move or something you do where they know it's coming, where they can chant along with it, that, it's just an easy thing that you can do. And it really helps you connect to your audience, because they're like, what wrestler doesn't want the crowd, if you're a babyface, to chant along with their catchphrase? Like, it's awesome.
Oh, 100%. How do you think like Jay Sorbet would go like wrestling as a heel?
I've only done it once or twice. Where I actually, funnily enough, wrestled Birdman, and Keto and I were did a little heel thing at AWS in our first match.
Really?
We wrestled Goran and Picasso, and it was so easy because Keto had been there a few times, and I think had really established himself. And Goran's over with that audience. Picasso, what he does. So you go in there, you get them rolled up, and I had so much fun doing it. I definitely think I'm more comfortable as a babyface because I've done it more, but I had so much fun being a heel.
But yeah, well, that's the thing, dude. I suppose like the babyface you're used to doing, but the heel side of it would be like, I'd be interested to see how your character would be a heel, like how the little differences that you would have to do to make it a heel, because it's like when you come out to the ring, it's just like this guy's like smiling out to, you know what I mean? Like you're a likable dude, like natural babyface. So I'd really like to see how you perform as a heel.
Well, I've definitely been told like quite a bit that I look too like clean cut and stuff to be a heel. Like I look too babyface to be a heel, if that makes sense to you. Like, I think like Ricky Steamboat was told the same thing when he was, back when he was wrestling, like we can't make you a heel because you look too much like a babyface. And by no means am I comparing myself to Ricky Steamboat, not in a million years. But
you heard it here first, folks.
I guess like that's when you turn heel, you've got to make a lot of changes. Whereas if you're a heel turning babyface, they're with you for what you're doing, so you don't really have to change much at all, other than I guess projecting your anger or whatever emotion you're trying to convey to the audience. You then switch that to your opponent. I think that's, I guess, the main difference from when you're turning from being a heel to a babyface. Whereas if you're a babyface turning heel, you kind of got to do a complete 180 and change, just about everything about what people liked about you. So,
Do you ever like change like little things that you do? Like if you're doing like a different promotion, like, okay, you know what, I'm working over in this company tonight, so I'm going to try and do something different, or I'm going to try and do, you know what I mean? Like, do you do specific little things that maybe, okay, you'll do in one promotion, but you'll do something else in another?
Yeah, 100%. Like if I'm wrestling at PWA, I'm not going to wrestle the exact same way as I would at like a, you know, because they're doing like Black Label 18 plus. I'm not going to wrestle the same way as I would in front of a kid audience because
Yeah.
they want different things. You know, you've got to like what I'd do in front of kids is probably very lame to a lot of, you know, grown men and women and young adults. Like that's just
Oh,
the way
for sure.
there's different audiences. Just like a indie wrestling audience is very different to a just to a general family audience. So so
Oh,
yeah, you have to definitely change it up a little bit.
yeah, no, 100%. But, you know, you mentioned wrestling at PWA. Are you training with PWA at the moment or
Yeah.
pre-COVID?
So at the moment we're just doing online classes because we obviously can't go in and train together, which has still been really good. You know, we get to do things like character workshops, and we'll, you know, like one of the trainers will pick a match and we'll do a match review and we'll break it down. That could be from, you know, AEW or WWE or PWA, wherever, just wherever they choose, and we do promo classes and things like that. But yeah, I'm training at PWA, and then I train at Rock and Roll one day a week as well. I just go down there and, you know, get a bit of extra ring time. So yeah, I think training is crucial to getting better. So you know,
And
the more
training
I can
different
train, the
places
better.
as well, man, because you pick up different things, I suppose.
100%. And both places teach different sort of stuff. You know, like Hunter down at Rock and Roll is very like character and, you know, like fundamentals based. Whereas when I go up to PWA, being in like the match class, we get to do a lot more, you know, match scenario kind of stuff, and you know, multi-man stuff and tag stuff, and, you know, high flying, technical, like all kinds of different stuff that I might not do down there. And then down there, because there's a few less guys, it means that we get a bit more ring time, so I can roll around a bit more. So being able to go both places is great.
Yeah, you get the best of both worlds. But what sort of style do you enjoy wrestling the most? Like, if you can get in there with anyone, and let's say like any particular style, what's the sort of style that you get in there and you have the most fun with?
I think I have the most fun. I think I definitely prefer wrestling like singles matches
Mhm.
and just going in there and wrestling a bit of both. You know, I don't like doing too much comedy. I like a little bit of comedy, you know, with majority of wrestling and a good basic easy story.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not really opposed to doing anything. You know, I've done a match where I tagged with a tie. Um, I've done a match where there's been $200 on a pole. So like I've had my fair share of gimmick
I
matches.
saw that match. Yeah, I was at that match actually.
Yeah, and they're all fun. You know, you go out there and you have fun, and, you know, you do the best with whatever you're given, and, you know, hope that someone notices and that you stand out.
Oh, absolutely, man. And you know, as far as you know yourself now, like you know, what's your mindset been since you broke into the business? Like you started in 2015, you were saying, and now 6 years in, like what's your perspective of the business now as opposed to what it was 6 years ago? How much has it changed?
Um, well, I think Australia is definitely a lot more exposed now than it was back then. And that's credit to, like, you know, a lot of the guys like Robbie Eagles and Moretti and all these guys for, you know, kicking down the door and helping us get that exposure. But yeah, back then, I mean, I wouldn't say I had a real view on the Australian scene as a whole. I kind of stayed in my own bubble for the first year or so of my career. It
Mm.
was only, I think, once I went down to Rock and Roll and I really got to see all these other guys that I've never seen wrestle before. Like that's where I first met Robbie Eagles and Moretti and, you know, Madison Eagles, Unsocial Jordan, all these different guys that are, you know, regular names in PWA. That's where I first got to see all these guys wrestle. And yeah, it just really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, there is so much talent in Australia, and I want to wrestle them all. I want to wrestle the best in Australia. I want to wrestle the best in America and all over the world. So,
Did you have the like? Do you like? Is that you said like wrestle America and the best in the world? Like, prior to COVID, did you have any plans to sort of going over internationally and applying the craft over there and trying to work some of the indie scene over there?
so I did my one trip to Shikara where I trained there for 3 weeks, and I did the Young Lions Cup, which I totally wasn't expecting to do at the time. I mean, I was just going over to train, and Ricky South was in the tournament. I was just going to go over and watch him and get like weeks worth of training and just really better my craft. But yeah, like a spot opened up, and then Mike ended up offering me a spot, and he's like, "Hey, are you available to do this?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I didn't really hear anything back for a couple of weeks until I saw my match graphic pop up. I'm like, "Wow, I'm actually getting to work overseas." Like that's something I didn't think would be happening this early in my career, but
Yeah,
like,
and you know what? Like even like people say a lot about Shikara and Quack and stuff like that, man. But that Young Lions Cup, man, that has some prestige to it over in the
yeah,
wrestling world for indies and stuff like that, man. And to be able to wrestle in that tournament is a big fucking deal.
yeah. I mean, especially for me because I never like, I still see myself as someone who's still on the rise, coming up through the ranks. So to get that opportunity for me was really was something really special. And I know there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on at Shikara, and there's it's kind of up in the air at the moment. But I'm really grateful to Mike for the impact he's had on my career specifically. I can't speak for others,
Yeah.
but for the opportunity he gave me, like I'm super grateful. And those 3 weeks were probably like, one of the highlights of my wrestling career so far. Just getting to go over there and just learn. Didn't have to go to work, didn't have to worry about a day job or anything like that. I was just training for 2-3 weeks straight, and
Loving every
yeah,
minute of it.
100%, man. It was an adventure, and I loved it.
How was the training there compared to like the training here? Like, was it like apples and oranges?
No, it was actually very similar to PWA's training. And I think because a lot of the PWA coaches have gone there and have learnt from Mike themselves, they bring a lot of that back. So it was very similar. I guess the difference was just the focus. Because like I was saying before, like, when you're at home, you do have other things, that you have your focus on, even if it's not as much as wrestling. You do have to worry about your job and all this different stuff. But when you're on holidays, you're over there to wrestle or to train, and that's your sole focus. So I think just the consistency was the best part of it. I was eating, I was sleeping in as long as I wanted, and then I'd go to training. Like they were, and a bit of traveling and and checking out the town here and there. Like they were the main things I was doing. I was gymming, I was eating, I was traveling, and I was wrestling. So.
Did you get to go and check out many of the indie shows over there when you were there?
No, I don't think there was too many on, at least that I was aware of. But I did get to go and check out a WWE show because I think Mike and Cesaro are still friends, so he hooked us up with a few tickets for me and a couple of the other guys. So we went and checked out a SmackDown live taping. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, and I always find those shows really fun, because I find a lot of the time when you're watching like a regular Raw or SmackDown, obviously they got stories and stuff, and you don't always get to go there and just watch wrestling because it's very much based on the story and what's going on. So, but when you go to those live events, it's like you're mainly just going there to watch the wrestling because they're not, they're not on TV, they're not being, set up for any particular reason other than to just have the crowd enjoy it. So, yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and would you like to go back over to the States and do a bit more stuff over there?
Yeah, I think I think anyone who's serious about making it anywhere, or who wants to wrestle people overseas, you can't just rely on all of them coming here. Some of them will, and you might get lucky, and you might be blessed enough to face some of the guys that you want to face down here, but more than likely you'll have to go over there. Whether that's just traveling, whether you get signed somewhere, you'll have to go and look for it. Put yourself in the place to get that opportunity.
Yeah, put yourself in the best possible chance to get it. You know what I mean? So it's But I suppose for wrestling as well, there's so many different styles. There's so much different that you can just keep on learning and picking things up. What's your goal now? As a pro wrestler, like let's say tomorrow COVID is destroyed and the world goes back to normal. Like, what is Jay Sorbet's long-term plan? Career-wise, like what would you be doing?
My goal is I have a list of people that I want to wrestle, and my goal is to wrestle as many people on that list as I possibly can and have great matches with all of them. That's my goal. I want to have, I want to be the guy who can go out there and have a good match with anyone. And I also want to wrestle all these guys that I either grew up watching or really love their work and think I could have a great match with them. That's sort of my goal at the moment. Some of them are overseas, some of them are here.
Who's at the top of the list at the moment?
Well, my two favorites are Jericho and Michaels, and because Michaels is basically retired, I'd say Jericho, with probably Randy Orton as a close after that. But obviously, I have to get signed to WWE to face Orton. So who knows?
Hey man, never say who knows, bro. They might want some sorbet, bro.
Who knows?
Dude, absolutely
different stuff. So.
Dude, and that's the thing, that those two names as well, like I think, two of the greatest of all time, without a doubt. And sort of saying that those are the guys that you want to wrestle. Not impossible, man. Not impossible. And you look at the Australian talent on how much eyes and how much talent there is in this country. There's the world of possibilities for Australian wrestlers right now.
Yeah, 100%. Especially, Wahlberg's just gone over there. He's doing good things, and Steph Delander's not too far off. And, you got Bronson Reed's over there killing it. Indy Hartwell, Murphy and the Iconics, they just got released, but they had a good run there that, they were doing great things. So the door is definitely open and they are looking here. I guess the real question is just what they're after. Who do they want? What are they looking for? And we just got to keep working our asses off if we want to get there to get noticed, and to.
100%. As far as in the local scene here in Australia, though, who are some where do you want to achieve? What is an accomplishment that you want to hit here in Australia?
So I'd love to hold the PWA title, the Rock and Roll Wrestling Heavyweight title, because they're kind of the two companies I feel most connected to at the moment. So I'd love to hold those two top titles, which I currently have the Rock and Roll Wrestling Gold Rush briefcase. So any chance I want it, who knows?
That's like a Money in the Bank gimmick.
Yeah, it's like I guess the Rock and Roll Wrestling version of the Money in the Bank. I won that. 2 years ago now, because it was before all the lockdown and everything happened. And, usually it's within a year, but I guess because COVID kind of killed that whole thing. So now I've probably had a Money in the Bank contract longer than anyone in history just because of the circumstances. But yeah, those are some of my goals. And then obviously, like I was saying, there's a couple of guys down here that I'd really like to wrestle. I've never wrestled Mick Moretti before. I've never wrestled Robbie Eagles before. Other than a couple of spots in Rumble matches and stuff like that. I'd love to have singles matches with those guys. And I guess those are kind of my goals at the moment.
Oh, and I want to ask, you mentioned winning the PWA and the Rock and Roll heavyweight titles. As far as championships go, do you see the prestige in having those belts? For a lot of guys, I think some wrestlers are it's a gimmick, or hey, no, it means something to you. Being classed as a champion, what does that mean to you as a performer?
like at the end of the day, yes, the belt is a gimmick, but it also, to me, having someone as your top champion represents trust and respect. And like, yes, we recognize that you worked your ass off for this and you deserve this spot. You know, whether you hold the title for a day or whether you hold it for, a year. You know, that's what it means to me. You know, and I think most of, if not all, the guys in PWA, rock and roll, or anywhere, anywhere you wrestle will feel a similar way. You know, like, yes, at the end of the day, it's a prop, but there is also a meaning behind it. You know, they don't just people don't just give world titles or any title to just anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the 100%. Like, it's almost like, hey, we believe in you to carry our company, to be the top draw, or to be someone that we can rely on to be here every show, defend this title, and make our company. You know what I mean? Because you are. It's a representation of the company.
100%, and I think that's a great honor too, because wherever you're going, there's always going to be competition.
Absolutely.
Who wants to win a belt where there's no competition for it? I mean, I would much rather hold a top championship in a place where there's so much competition that, I've clearly made enough of an impact to stand out among the rest, rather than somewhere where there's, big fish, small pond. So,
but it also gives like storyline as well. It's like, okay, why do these guys hate each other so much, and like why they fight? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are they fighting? You know what I mean? And it's like, for that title, for that belt, you know what I mean? Like that prestigiousness of it. And I think it also depends on how the title's booked.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the story is always what's most important. I think the story is kind of what carries you to a great match. Yes, you can get a couple of guys who go on there at any point in the card and have a great athletic contest or, technical contest, and, it'll get a good reaction. But I think stories are always what draw more people in than just pure wrestling.
100%. And I think, it's the drama of it, I think, as well. Like, people sort of, see it, and it's like that's the intrigueness of it that really sort of gets people hooked. But ladies and gentlemen, is that time of the show. We have briefed Mr. J Sorbet. It is time for 60 seconds with Piers. How it's going to work, we're going to set the timer. We're going to hit go. Jay's going to tell us when to go, and we're going to fire some questions at Jay. When you are ready, Jay, can you please give me the go ahead and we can start the game?
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep. iTunes or Spotify?
iTunes.
Last book you read?
The Bible.
Name a gross meal combo that you love that no one else does.
Oh man, I need to be quick with this. Vegemite and avocado on toast.
Ooh, okay. Which wrestler would you love to go out drinking with in the history of wrestling?
I feel like everyone's got to say like Ric Flair, right? Even if I'm not drinking as many drinks as he is, just to see what he's like, see if the stories are all true.
Plain fairy bread or fairy bread with Nutella?
You know, fairy bread with Nutella?
Instagram or Twitter? Sorry, go
ahead. With Nutella, because I've never tried it before.
There you go. Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
What song do you know the lyrics to? All the words.
Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
4'5".
What did you get into trouble most as a kid?
Being a smartass.
Last one. In 5 minutes, you were being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you?
My Nintendo Switch and a book.
Yeah, there you go. Any particular book or just a book?
I'll say my Bible.
There you go, man. Good Christian boy. But Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I definitely want to do a part 2 with you in the future. But man, where can everyone support you and buy some merch? Because I know you got a merch store and you put up a heap of great shirt designs as well. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so a lot of the Australian wrestlers are all on wrestlemerch.com. So if you go to wrestlemerch.com and search J Sorbet, you'll find all my shirts on there. It's the Sorbet on Twitter, the J Sorbet on Instagram, and J Sorbet on Facebook, and you'll find me all there.
There you go, guys. Also, make sure to tune into the MWA Podcast Network every single week. We're bringing you amazing shows like Shooting the Shit Uncensored, where I do multiple episodes per week, where I sit down with people involved in the world of professional wrestling. We've also got Killing the Business every Friday night at 8 p.m. USA Eastern, which is 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning here in Australia, with the ECW original, the Kingpin, Angel Motherfucking Medina. We've also got Get Funked live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. USA Eastern, which is Friday morning at 9 a.m. here in Australia time, with Get Funked with former WCW and TNA star Alan Kwee Funk. So make sure you tune in for those. But if you still can't get enough wrestling, you definitely have to tune in on Sunday night at 9 p.m. USA Eastern for Nights of the Gimmick Table with the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo and Lowrider. Guys, we've got an amazing lineup of shows, and we're going to be adding to that in the near future. So make sure you click that subscribe button, click that follow button, and in the near future, we're going to be available on all audio platforms, guys. So stay tuned for that. But Jay, thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate you coming on and giving up your time on a Tuesday night.
Thank you so much, Piers. I had a great time, and that's the Sorbet.
That's it, guys. Make sure to check out our sponsors. The link's in below. And guys, till next time, we'll see you soon. And Jay, that is the Sorbet. See you, bud. Peace.